This week on the... Where the heck am I? Uh-oh, I guess AI and SEO is taking over. Okay, well, let's do this anyway. So many ranking studies about local SEO ranking studies, core update studies, product review update studies, even AI and chat SEO studies. So much. And also, I'm so hyped about some of these rankable interviews. Last week we had Jeff Coyle talking NLG. Next week we've got Sridhar Ramaswamy of Neva talking all about AI and search engines with Mike King. It's so good. You'll have to check it out. But you know what? Let's dive in. I'm gonna get out of this video game wasteland. Welcome back to another episode of the SEO Weekly, where queries are weird, advice is controversial, and everything depends. I'm your host, Garrett Sussman of iPullRank, and every week I cover everything going on in the world of SEO. We're talking Google updates, AI and SEO, feature blog articles, new tools, podcasts, webinars, communities, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm on it. If you are into this stuff, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a like, leave us a comment, share on the socials. I very much appreciate it. So much to dive into this week, so let's dive in. So in the world of Google, the big March core update has completed rolling out. We knew it's been about a couple weeks, and so now we can start to, assess how the rankings have been updated, what the volatility was. Lily Ray of Amsive Digital did great. She does her kind of post-update studies with Systrix data and looked at, the range of fluctuations. What she found was, e-commerce and shopping saw massive wins in visibility. A lot of that is attributed to the Amazons and the Walmart. Some of the big sites got bigger. Wikipedia won big. It's very interesting based on the fact that over the last, couple of years, there were like 6 product review updates to the product review system. So e-commerce is naturally going to shift around. We also don't really know what the implications are of all of the new AI generated content, rolling out. Remember, it's been 6 months since the last core update. And to what extent is Google taking these new types of garbage content into consideration? I think it's something that we'll need to pay attention to going forward. One other thing that Lily calls out, which I think is really interesting, is it seems with the whole e-commerce and shopping fluctuations that Google's trying to take into consideration the new experience signal from EEAT, proving and showing that you have experience in the content that you're writing through your opinions, your unique perspectives, not just aggregating other people's content. So really interesting to pay attention to. As we mentioned with any algorithm update in the past, like Mike King and Zach House of iPullRank say, don't do anything immediately. Wait till the dust settles before you make any major changes to your content. And regarding the core update, if you did see a major search traffic drop going on with his Google Search Console training series on YouTube, search advocate Daniel Waisberg does this one all about analyzing and assessing a drop in traffic for search. Basically, he goes through different possibilities, whether it's site-wide or page-wise, paying attention to seasonality or if it's a reporting glitch, and how you can analyze looking at, month over month or looking at specific queries and seeing what the changes were and how you were impacted. Really helpful if you've never really tried to diagnose your own Google search traffic drop before you think, the sky is falling. So great video to check out by Daniel. Misinformation is still a really big deal on Google, and they're actively trying to make it more transparent with why they're showing you the results that they're showing you. So they point out 5 new ways that they are trying to make the search results better and add augmented information to kind of support whether or not you can trust the info that you're getting. So rolling out globally to about this result. So if you see the result, there are 3 dots where you can now see more information about why that result was submitted. And then even further, you can learn about this page, which gives you, kind of sources about how a website or organization might refer to themselves on the page, how something like Wikipedia or someone else might refer them, to give more context. They also, which is a big deal, adding about this author. So kind of showing that whole expertise and experience to make sure that you know where the information is coming from. You can learn more about who it is that's putting the ideas out there. And to kind of hit home the fact that this author thing is a really big deal, that expertise matters, they're also adding perspectives to top stories. So beneath the top stories, you'll get different perspectives from other experts in a little carousel that should be rolling out over the next few weeks. This is all critical. One last thing is about, kind of these advisories for, big new viral topics where there's not a lot of concrete information coming out. They'll have a content advisory. They've had this for a hot minute to let you know that we don't know if all this information is advisable. And they're doing similar advisories where they're not confident that there might be gaps in the content and it's not 100% trustworthy. It might be helpful content, but they don't feel great about it, Google search algorithm. So there'll be this advisory that says, hey, just to let you know that's the case. And then finally, they just want to point out that they care about fact checking. There are all these initiatives. Google is the biggest organization to invest in, in fact checking. Whether or not that's all just like PR spin is besides the point. Obviously, they're actively trying to make sure that people understand that search results are reliable. So pretty cool. In the world of AI and SEO, so not necessarily SEO, but worth calling out, there was this weird Future of Life Institute petition that came out. Basically, a lot of really recognizable billionaires like Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak of Apple, along with a bunch of AI scientists and just across the board, signed this call for anyone who are building post-GPT-4, so more complex LLM models, to pause training those models for 6 months so that governments and policymakers could put together a regulations policy. So in theory, it makes, it is something that needs to be done, but the motives of this petition feel very commercially driven for these folks to like get ahead and catch up on their competitors because OpenAI has gotten so far ahead with this. Read it for yourself. A lot of AI scientists, after getting the ridicule and the feedback, pulled out of the petition. And to be honest, if you look at like what Timothy Grabu of Google, 2020 was doing with her ethics of AI and research before she left Google because she was kind of ousted, that's the roadmap for how to handle this. She identified the risks, how we should deal with AI issues now, as opposed to saying like, let's wait 6 months. Let's focus on the issues that already exist and tackle examples of how to go ahead and mitigate them instead of just asking, people to put the rabbit back in the hat. That's not how this works. Nonetheless, considerations for the ethics of AI should be top of mind because there's a lot of really scammy, weird, dangerous stuff that's already happening out there. Meanwhile, The Information last week came out with this report that Google's Bard was actually being trained with ChatGPT data, which is kind of BS. I mean, but, I guess there's karma there of like, just using other people's content for your own content and training these LLM models. Naturally, Google denied it completely. The OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, did tweet out, I'm not annoyed by the fact that they're training Bard on our data, but the spin is ridiculous. Anyway, it is interesting. It is noteworthy to have this accusation out there in terms of how these models are trained, and always you need to consider where the information is coming from. So a couple of big reputation hits when it comes to AI generative content that came out. So you remember last month when I was pointing out how BuzzFeed made this announcement that they were going to use AI generated content in their quizzes and their stock soared. And it was this example of like a positive public response to using AI generated content. Well, John Christian, Noor Al-Sibai, Futurism put out an article calling BuzzFeed out because it turns out that they're quietly, well, not quietly now, but publishing a ton of articles, very SEO driven, using AI assisted content, basically put out by their AI assisted chatbot Buzzy with human oversight. But the articles are really thin. They have this very conversational nature that's very vapid and just dumb. It's kind of dumb. They're very SEO driven, like about like Cape May or Mexico, different places. And obviously they just want to rank. Not a good look for BuzzFeed and not the intended way of AI generated content where you should be just using it for ideation or maybe making your process more efficient, but not just publishing raw bad content. The other side was I want to call out because it's about AI image generation. Levi Strauss announced that they're going to start using AI to create realistic, diverse models. So if they have a bunch of white models in their advertising campaigns, it's problematic. So, to reflect their user base, they're going to do more diversity. So with African-American models and different races, but using AI to do it, they were ridiculed for this announcement. It's basically like someone was in the boardroom saying, and I saw this on Twitter, someone was in the boardroom saying, let's use AI and diversity, together. I believe it was Lily Wright or Mike, I forget. Anyway, obviously you should hire real people, especially when you're trying to improve visibility and representation. Like, pay the people that you're hiring and don't just use AI models to get around that. That is a really gross use of AI image generation for your business. There are a couple of interesting comparison pieces when it comes to ChatGPT and Bing and Bard and how they do in terms of usefulness, SEO, and ultimately in terms of factuality. Tom Capper compared Bard and Bing for Moz. Biggest takeaway from what Tom found was just the reminder that when you're using these tools, you're not getting the same results, the same answer each time. Each time there are nuances that can provide vastly different answers. Now, we know with normal search results pages, there's a certain amount of localization and personalization that happens. So you don't always see exactly the same rankings, but it's a lot different when it comes to the LLMs and these chat-based AI services. Meanwhile, Eric Enga wrote a great article on Search Engine Land, kind of did a mini study where he asked the different tools 30 questions to get a sense of, the differences between factuality, attribution, you name it. The factuality part is really interesting. And what he found was none of them are perfect. They all have major errors. And the big takeaway there is obviously you need to fact check any generative content that you intend to publish before just publishing it, because Google is very confident. In fact, for the webinar that I did with Zach the other day, where I was looking up examples for deplatformings of websites that had gotten completely crushed, and Google just made one up about American Eagle Outfitters in 2017 that when I looked it up, it did not exist, and very confidently. Anyway, Eric found that out of these, OpenAI was the best. It wasn't 100%, but the vast majority was like 70-80% of the answers were pretty factually accurate. Meanwhile, Bard had like a 1 in 3 chance of being accurate, 63%. Bing was 77%, so it's not all the way up to OpenAI, but it's using similar models anyway because Bing has that relationship with OpenAI. Obviously, there's some differences in the exact model, but the ultimate takeaway from Eric's study was that you really do need to fact check your content before just using it. It's very interesting implications for SEO to consider. Some criminals are just awful at covering up their tracks. So it was a bit of an inevitability in the world of local SEO, but Jason Brown identified a ring of fake reviews being made by AI generative content. How do they know? In the review content, the person who was leaving the fake review actually included as an AI language model, blah, blah, blah. Bam, bam. This isn't just this is poorly written text. This is obviously copy and paste from the output of GPT-4 or Bard or one of the others. Now, this is scary because Google has actually been notoriously bad at catching Google review fraud, and there are very complicated networks out there. I remember hearing stories from Jason about how, in the world of legal law firms that, your reputation is everything. 5 stars is like the cream of the crop. So these review frauds would actually leave all these 4 and 3-star reviews, which don't seem bad. They're not obviously 1-star reviews that knock them down just enough to crush them compared to their competitors. Hopefully Google gets better at identifying review spam, because up to this point, they haven't been great unless they're reported. And we're probably going to see a lot more of it with the ease of these AI tools allowing you to generate that content like bam, bam, bam. So something to keep an eye on for local SEO. So the big debate right now is, how is SEO going to be influenced by AI chatbots like ChatGPT and generative content going forward? And there are two sides of the coin that need to be considered. On the one hand, you have the fact that you want to appear, how can you appear in the results given by these answer bots, by these AI chatbots? How do you ensure that your brand shows up, making sure that you are being fed directly into the documents that's being trained on? On the other hand, with these AI generative content, like in actuality, as we saw from last week from Tom's Hardware, being plagiarized, having AI generative content being pulled from your information that's trained on without attribution, how is that fair in the grand scheme of things? So Ryan Jones wrote a really interesting article on Search Engine Land debating the topic, and his ultimate takeaway was, no, you should not block ChatGPT from your content and including it in its training documents, because you need a wait and see approach, and you need to see, even if they're not doing attribution, you still want to show up. If you're not showing up, you're kind of giving your competitors the visibility, whether they're, ultimately ChatGPT is building generated content on your content and intellectual property. It's a weird minefield to navigate. Now, you can block ChatGPT from reading your content. In fact, Michael King shared the way that you can do it by putting the user agent of ChatGPT in your robots.txt file. He had the tweet there, the step-by-step on how to do that. But it's a really interesting debate going forward for SEOs and how we're handling the LLMs, AI chatbots. One, I'm super hyped because last week we actually recorded an interview with the CEO of Neva AI, a search engine competitor, Sridhar Ramaswamy, all about, search engines, AI. Our own Mike King interviewed him. Hilarious dude. I am so hyped about this episode. But he spoke to that issue about the future of search as an answer. Actually, let's take a quick look and see what he had to say about this issue about showing up in LLMs.
At one level, things are, things are the same in the sense of high quality content written by humans is the thing that will continue to be priced. And so I don't really think that changes. That's like, part one. Part two, I will come out and confess that I think this is this is like a big bomb at the center of search, these AI generated answers, meaning that it is a massive disruption. It is a disruption to the economic model of commercial search engines. It is a disruption to how traffic comes to websites. And I certainly do not pretend that I know where exactly we are going to land up. And like citations are good. I think they are a must, but people, like, the dirty secret here obviously is that many people are happy with quick answers. Sure, you can buy the product, and if you want to do things like that, you're going to go down to the web page. But when it comes to pure information queries, we are looking at a world in which there is far less outbound traffic from search engines. I think that is the more troubling part if I'm an information creator. And I think you will also see people, I don't know, Reddit, Twitter, others basically tell the LLM companies, no way you're using my content to generate AI answers. You can, but you know how this works. If you're not part of it, somebody else might. And there's it's a little bit of like this prisoner's dilemma, where if you want to be featured, you have to let your content get hijacked. But if you let your content get hijacked, you're going to get less clicks. On the other hand, if you don't let your content get hijacked, you're not going to be in the answer, and you're going to be far below the fold, and you're going to get less traffic. So this is this is definitely worrisome. It has a little bit of a feel of heads I lose, tails I lose kind of feeling to it. It's the only thing is it's early. We all have to see how these things will evolve.
So there you go. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So for the best course of action for right now is wait and see. Don't create issues before there are issues, even if it's not totally fair. Great post by Ryan. Check out that post and keep your eyes peeled for this interview next week with Sridhar. In the world of Twitter, there's too much. There's too much going on right now. So keeping it short and sweet. One little knowledge bomb from the self-proclaimed Wicked Witch of JS. She writes, Rich Snippets, Jamie Indigo points out that, yes, you can host your sitemaps anywhere on your site, but unless you submit your sitemap through Search Console, a sitemap affects only descendants of the parent directory. Sitemaps are very much misunderstood. We actually covered this a bit when we talked about website migrations replatforming with Zach in the webinar last week, but definitely follow Jamie. I mean, she writes the email Rich Snippets for Traffic Think Tank, which is a fantastic email newsletter. But generally, her Twitter, she's always dropping these insights about, especially about Google documentation that you're like, I didn't know that existed. Listen to Jamie. Another fun Twitter thread that I just had to share, but this is from Halle Ben-Sasson talking all about how he hacked Bing through a CMS via Azure and ultimately was actually able to change search results. He basically looked into best soundtracks and changed one of the carousels from Dune to Hackers, which I mean, don't get me wrong. I love hackers, but I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Halle. Anyway, breakdown of how he did it. Just hilarious and fascinating that is even possible, and how Bing and Microsoft kind of need to get their security patched together, because that's fun correlation study from the team at Stat. Using the 10,000 keywords in Mozcast, they wanted to look at what were the top 5 SERP features that were showing up in 2023. So what they found, what was the big takeaway? Keep it short and sweet here, is both in terms of like appearance, but then in terms of share of voice, it broke down to related searches was by far the #1 for appearance. Then people also asked, then videos, then carousels, then images. And then in terms of share of voice, local packs, then site links, then carousels, then people also asked, then knowledge graphs. Why is it important to distinguish the two? Well, the share of voice metric by Stat is a more impression and acquisition based metric than just like the appearance, like whether it shows up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's an impression that you see it, and it might not be prominent and the rankings change, but nonetheless, love a good correlation study. Check that out. Good job to the team at Stat. You work in local SEO. Well, Darren Shaw and the team at Waisberg have outdone themselves. 2023 local search ranking factors study. Basically, every year since 2017, Darren's been doing this. Since before that, since 2008, David Mim was doing this annual study, asking experts in local SEO what they think the top ranking factors are for local search results, whether that's like the local pack finder or even just like actual local organic results. Asked 44 different experts what they thought the top factors were, and then break it down. In terms of visualization, the design, Darren is beautiful, but local pack finder, what do they find? 32% of Google business profile signals is like the highest ranking factor according to the experts, then on-page signals, then review signals, then link signals, then behavioral signals, citations, and personalization. They look at these year over year. This year they added things like with LSAs, like the local search ads and how they play a role for the local. So if you do local SEO, this is a report that you should be looking at year over year so you can inform your own business or your clients. Great job, Waisberg. Fantastic. Speaking of SEO, Miriam Ellis, writer for the Moz blog, wrote another great post kind of listing out the 13 local search developments that happened in Q1 for 2023. She's been doing this each quarter, and it's super helpful with everything that's going on in local. So a couple of from her roundup that are worth pointing out is that Joy Hawkins and the Sterling Sky team identified services for some specific categories in your Google business profile can be a massive ranking factor and have a huge impact. We've seen local products rolled out. Google Business Profile products rolled out in Google Shopping results. Apparently, Google actually relies a little bit more and more on the Better Business Bureau for qualifying and information and trust verification. And then local service ads, there's a ton going on. And then finally, justifications are showing up more and more in the map pack or in the local pack. So, those little like extra pieces of information that Google is pulling out from businesses or your Google business profile are actually showing up in the justification, is like the little annotation that happens beneath the listing. Very cool article by Miriam. Local SEOs need to pay attention to this post. So with all the core updates and the product review updates that Google have been rolling out in the algorithms, and interesting analysis, even if not the 100% scientific, but by Morty Oberstein about product reviews, looking through a whole ton of product reviews and finding one pattern that he wanted to call out. Now, this might just be one sliver of product reviews results, but what he found was for any of the articles that were using language around weave or I've, like showing that personal experience just in the language that they use, seem to see like a little bit of an uptick in their rankings. So one consideration as Google continues to focus on EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, using the right language, the first person or the we're included language in your copy will perhaps give Google those signals of experience. Good article and worth considering, just seeing from the patterns that Morty was able to pull out. Interesting brief podcast for Majestic with Nick Wilston. He joined David Bain to talk about this concept of the edge and how it's it's been around for a while, but using the edge and CDNs, content delivery networks, to inject personalized content into your website so that you can have a more personalized experience both for your users, but then also for Googlebot. It's a great way to take more control of your content, especially if you're just using templates across a ton of pages. One example Nick gave is like wanting to, improve the content on a product page, but your developers are like, no, we can't mess with that template. You can use the edge and content delivery network technology in order to get that content in there. Now, Nick does distinguish the idea of avoiding cloaking, which is basically trying to deceive Googlebot to see only what you want to see, but that in actuality, you can use the edge to have a more tailored personal experience while also keeping quality of your website. One example that he uses is, say you want to mess with the menu navigation for seasonality around Black Friday, but you don't want to have that be a permanent thing on your network. You can use the edge content in order to, have Black Friday show up in your navigational menu for a short period of time. Very cool, interesting stuff. Very complicated, can be complex, but I think Nick explains it well. Watch that whole video podcast episode. So out of nowhere last week, Martin McDonald dropped this cool tool that he's been working on. Apparently for 12 years, he's been bootstrapping and he's ready to unleash it to the public. Basically, it's a SEO crawler and audit tool using machine learning and large language models, AI, to do a whole bunch of analysis on your SEO URLs and keywords, pulls together like 1,000 different data points per URL or 200 data points per actual keyword that you can start really surfacing some interesting insights. He's got, if he hasn't already, he's got a sign up list for the announcement. If you want to give it a try, it looks really cool. And just kudos to him as a software developer to getting something like this out the door. Another cool tool that will help the productivity of SEOs that came across my radar using AI, Numerous.ai. So basically what it is, you connect it to either Google Sheets or Excel, and allows you to use AI to generate text. It's connected to ChatGPT to create formulas, whatnot, you name it. Seems interesting, seems helpful, worth checking out. Let me know what you think if you've had a go at it. And in the world of Rankable, last week I had such a good interview with Jeff Coyle, who is co-founder of Market Muse. So this dude knows AI and content inside and out. We talked all about the history of NLG content, how it's used in SEO, his predictions of the future going forward. But it was really interesting talking about, how these models have developed over time from really simple tools like kind of Mad Lib style replacements and keywords like kind of stuffing, if you will, to much more sophisticated tools that understand, NLP, natural language processing, understanding the context of things and how complex they're going. It was fun because, Jeff literally tried to build his own search engine at one point as well. So, with his computer science background, he knows the ins and outs, but it wasn't too technical that someone like me can't understand. So check out that episode. This week, like I mentioned, super hyped for Sridhar Ramaswamy of Neva. He's joining Mike for a special episode of Rankable. And last Thursday, hosted a awesome webinar with our own Zach Chahalis, who's the director of SEO at iPullRank, talking all about website migrations and re-platforms, really discussing how important it is as an SEO to get involved in the conversation from the get-go. Like if you're an SEO and your CMO or the marketing team at your company doesn't know to reach out to you the second a redesign or migration or re-platforming project is about to launch, then you're already too late. You're going to lose so much organic traffic if it's not done right, even from things of like looking at the wireframe mockup and the design, having an SEO take a look at all of that to prevent you from having any sort of like, H1, H2, H3 mistakes, navigational mistakes. We talked about site architecture. We talked about the nuances of different platforms and out of the box versus custom situations, like across the board. Such a great conversation. We also have a checklist that you can download free that gives you the step-by-step of what you should be doing when you're launching a project like this. All in all, great stuff from the team at IPR. And I love this. I love having, having these webinars and having these rankable episodes. That's it. That's it for another episode of the SEO Weekly. It feels like no big news happened, and yet there's a bunch of little like interesting articles that were popping up all over the place. Thank you so much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it. If you're into this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, leave us a comment, share on the socials. I genuinely appreciate it. Once again, my name is Garrett Sussman of iPullRank, and I will catch you next week.